welcome to the Desolation Sounds Podcast. My name is Stephen Hook, and this is a podcast celebrating everything to do with the world of alternative music, be that rock, punk, metal, or extreme metal. I forgot the T in the first metal there. Today's going to go splendidly well. How are we all doing? How is lockdown treating y'all? I hope you're all well. I keeping myself occupied. I made the tiniest loaf of bread yesterday. Or day before. And he is beautiful. He is my son, and I shall cherish him, even though I have eaten half of it already. But it's literally just like barely 2 hands. It fits. You can't even. There you go. Don't forget. You can. When I say you can't even see it, remember you can see me. Go to YouTube. My link's around here somewhere, and you can see my face and my fresh pink hair, purple, blue. I tried dyeing it. It didn't go well. Anyway, let's talk about music because someone is here to do that, and it's nice to know that it's not just me sometimes. We're going to have album reviews this week from Milk Teeth, Supruga, Lie, Suicide Silence, The Chats, but we're going to start with Ihsahn, the former Emperor lead man, now an esteemed solo artiste. From Rotterdam, Norway, he is known for his extreme progressive metal style. I don't know why I really struggled with the word style. Technically, this is his debut EP. I feel like it's unfair to call it a debut EP. It's his first EP, which no means the same thing, but he's 6-7 albums in as a solo artist, so yeah, bit weird. But anyway, it's called Telemark. Apparently, it is the first of 2 EPs that's to come from Ihsahn. I don't know if they're both going to be coming out this year or one is early next year, but it's the first of 2. One is going to be much more experimental, more progressive, much more mellow kind of fare. The other one, which is this one, is going to be more in keeping with his extreme prog lineage. Excuse me. Yeah, so on this you've got 3 original songs plus 2 covers. We'll start with the covers. You've got Lenny Kravitz's Rock and Roll is Dead, and you've got Iron Maiden's Wrathchild. Now, I am not the most familiar with Lenny Kravitz. He had that one song on Guitar Hero. Are you going to be my way? Are you going to go my way? Is that Kravitz? Sure. Yeah, not the most familiar with his work. So I didn't really realise it was a cover at first. I did feel like it was like unusually jaunty from Ihsahn. I also couldn't put my finger on why it felt so horrendously different, even though it was like quite upbeat, had a bit more like clean vocals, which he's not like adverse to doing. He's got a really good singing voice actually, Ihsahn. The bit that got me was I didn't realise the 3 original songs are all in Norwegian, and obviously Wrathchild and Rock and Roll's Dead both in English. It took me longer than it should have done to realise that. Yeah, so it did feel quite unusually jaunty for Ihsahn's usually affair. I thought having the saxophone match the guitars riff for riff and just sort of like complement each other like they did. It struck me very King Crimson-y, and again, I've got very limited knowledge of King Crimson, but the go-to song, 21st Century Schizoid Man, the way the guitars and the sax sort of play off each other, I found a lot in common with what he was doing in Rock and Roll's Dead. And it just felt like just a bit too odd, which is weird considering Ihsahn has never really shied away from doing anything with his music, but yeah, it was just a bit too upbeat brass on this occasion, because I liked it when they did it in Wrathchild, which is a bit hypocritical, but I don't know. Wrathchild, I'm more familiar with the song. If any band's going to cover it, Gallows is always going to be the best cover of Wrathchild. Do not at me. Please do, I'm so alone. The cover doesn't really deviate too much from the original Iron Maiden version. The sax and the clean vocals on the chorus does give it like a bit more jazzy, upbeat, big band sort of thing that you'd get from the 60s, which I much prefer it in Wrathchild than I did in Rock and Roll's Dead, but I think that's just because I prefer the song Wrathchild from what I heard of Rock and Roll's Dead. Even if I heard the original, I don't think I would be really into it, but There we go. The originals don't really push the boat out on what Ihsahn is already known for. And that's not a slight on Ihsahn at all. He is a wonderful musician. I know a lot of people go for Eremita for his solo stuff. For me, I much prefer Arctis. I think Arctis was fucking great. Amir, I kind of saw Amir as a step down, which is weird. I've seen a lot of people give it good reviews. For me, Amir just didn't really do it for me, but there you go. The 3 original songs on Telemark then, yeah, it just shows off the creativity he's already known for. I really enjoy his use of saxophone. Off the top of my head, I can't really recall him using saxophone to this level. He's worked with Jorgen Munkeby from Shine before, and he's worked with guys from Leprous who I think use saxophone every now and again. And he's worked with like loads of musicians who have all like probably dealt with it in the past, but off the top of my head I can't really think of him using saxophone before, so this is like a very saxophone-y kind of sound, and I think he's done a really good job. A lot of what I said for Wrathchild, it sort of like complements riffs quite well, and it really bolsters those riffs, really bolsters transitions as well, from even from like riff A to riff B, as much as it does from like verse to chorus to verse to solo to chorus and yada yada. One thing I've always picked up on Ihsahn's solo sound is his use of repetition and his manipulation of it. So you can hear the same riff or the same lick over and over and over and over again, and that's one of the things that I like tend to dislike about prog, hearing there's like little bits over and over. But for me, what really gets it with, or Ihsahn really gets right, fucking hell, is he can have that repetition, and it's just what goes on around it that changes, and what makes things so interesting, and what makes this music so great. So on times you'll have this big building, like almost post-black metal wall of sound. Other times you've just got the rhythm guitarist doing his own riffs on the other side of things. I'm going to sneeze. Fuck. That's like the 4th time I've sneezed in an hour. If I get hay fever this year, I'm going to fucking cry. I've never had hay fever before. I like laughing at people who are pollen's bitch. Ah, fuck. We're good? We're good. What was I talking about? Oh yeah, repetition. So you've got like lead guitars doing their thing. In the background, you've just got different things happening where it is, again, like I was trying to say, the post-black metal build, something a bit more technical where it's just the rhythm guitarist whittling in the background, or it's for something a little bit more chill. And yeah, it's something that could go so wrong so easily, but that's what makes Ihsahn so great, is that he doesn't do it wrong most of the time. There are some songs where I'm kind of like, me. But yeah, as a little taster of, if you are unfamiliar with Ihsahn, I think this is a really good shout. In terms of like albums, I think the reason why I prefer Arctis to Eremita is because I think Arctis is... Oh, what's the fucking word? It's a good starting point, is what I'm trying to say. But if you just want a taste for Ihsahn to find out if his version of extreme prog is your thing, give Telemark a go. It's a good sample of what he can do, but just know everything on here, he can do it so much better. I have no idea if that actually changes, because I changed my mic settings recently, so I have no idea if going farther or closer away actually changes anything. So we'll find out in post. But yeah, that is Telemark. That is technically the debut EP from Ihsahn. He has done so much more. Please look him up. He's very, very good. Cool. On to the other side of the planet. We're going to go to Queensland, Australia, for the Chats. They're a garage punk rock outfit from Queensland. This is their debut album, High Risk Behaviour. And if you're not familiar with the name The Chats, there's a good chance you'll be familiar with their song Smoko. So as a whole, the Chats have had like a really weird... That's the wrong button, I didn't want to press that at all. The Chats have had like a really weird build and really odd. ascension, I guess you could say. So they had the song Smoko, went crazy viral. How many plays is it on? It is on 8 million, nearly, well, 8.7 million listens on Spotify. I think almost like 10 times as much on YouTube. So they went viral on that, like as a weird song. It's all about just going for a fag break, but in Australian. From there, they got signed to Universal after the EP came out. Before? I think it was before, actually. Signed to Universal, got the EP out, and from there they've they've made their own like sub-label called Bargain Bins Record. So they've gone from just, initially it was 4 lads from Australia, just dicking around, and now they're on Universal, and now they've got their own label. It's a kind of like weirdly heartwarming story. That's just it's such an old school punk rock aesthetic that's made it big. You know, these are short songs. It's a very garagey kind of sound. They write about the most mundane, normal things, not in a men's kind of way where they romanticize it or anything like that. It's that you got songs on here that are about pub food. You got some songs on here that are about STIs. You know, and it's a weird thing to see. Because obviously, alternative music fan, we've seen a lot of like weird and wonderful things go up the rankings over the years, but this is definitely one of the more weirder ones. As for the album itself, it's very high energy, punk rock. It doesn't quite go to borders or like to the words of like frenetic, whatever, or cathartic, and just like it's fast and angry and you punch things. It's just, it's got a sound and aesthetic that's on par with the likes of Buzzcocks, Iggy Pop, Ramones, Sex Pistols, that kind of ilk. So it's very grounded, it's very brash. The only time it really deviates from a bunch of lads having a jolly is the song The Kids Need Guns. The Kids Need Guns, too many S's. And that's kind of, a lot of their song titles are pretty self-explanatory, but this is just slagging off America and gun control, really, which I think now at modern day punks, that's kind of like a rite of passage. Whereas before it was like shitting on your own government, now it's shitting on America's government. It is the done way. Otherwise, you've got songs like Better Than You, The Clap, Keep the Grubs Out. Why am I trying to think? The fucking title track's right in front of me. Yeah, their title tracks are just very, very on point and on brand. You've got Drunk and Disorderly, Dine and Dash, Do What I Want. I feel like songs like Stinker and Ross River are probably more familiar with Australians. Don't know why I have to keep saying Australians like that, but you know, there's no nuance, there's no hidden subtext. It is just, there you go. I thought, so you've got the guitarist Pricey. I think his guitar work probably stands out the most out of the album, which is saying something. A genre like this, like punk, garage punk, that kind of thing, it can be quite limiting on what you can do. It just all depends on like how you do power chords and your transitions and things like that. I think he's done a great job of keeping things creative and trying to have different ideas on what he can do. It's chord progressions as much as it is riffs. You can hear like little, some in like the lower end of things, but a lot of it comes into like high, the higher end of the neck. So it's kind of like more ska-y, but with a bit more bollocks behind it. Yeah, I think his guitar work is really, really great. Super creative, and it stops the album just being like one long thing of chord, 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 chord. Now he's singing about dicks, chord, 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 chord. Now he's singing about being drunk. You've actually got some nuances, and you've got some, not nuances, I just said there's no nuance. You just got some separation between each song, and each song's got a bit more personality behind it based on his guitar playing. I thought this album was... It's just insanely likable. It's so easy. It's probably the easiest album I've listened to in a very long time. You don't have to worry about what are they really talking about or what could it mean. Is the sky really blue? The sky is so fucking blue on this album. And yeah, there's no point trying to like fish around for other superlatives. It's just super simple, very honest, and it honestly just keeps with the theme of just three lads just having a party all the time. And with the current climate as it is, it's pretty apt. It's quite nice, and it's a summery album. So listen to it with the sun out, which is kind of out. It's murky. It's hot as hell, but it's murky outside. It's very keeping for the weather at the moment. So give it a go. The album is called High Risk Behavior. It's by the band called The Chats. Yeah, it's just really, really dumb, really fun punk rock. Moving on then with the clickety-click of my mouse. Where's it gone? There you are. We're going to move on then. Go to the other side of the world again, kind of. To Riverside, California for the 6th album from Suicide Silence, and it's called Become the Hunter. So, let us start with the previous Suicide Silence album. It was, best way to describe it, an experiment. And best way to describe it was divisive. In the self-titled album, they decided to go super nu metal. Really try to... I'm not sure if reclaim is the right word, but reimagine, I think, might be closer. Reimagine the sound from like the turn of the century and the couple of years immediately preceding it. As a whole, the album was a mess. As much as there were points that I enjoyed about it, I liked songs like Run, which I thought had a big chord influence in it. I liked songs like The Zero, which I think had more of a Deftones sort of thing to it. Silence as well, which I think just stood amongst itself. I thought, as bad as the album was, there were moments on it that had potential for carving a new sound for Suicide Silence. Their core fan base did not feel the fucking same, nor did most. Actually, no, I think critically it didn't do too badly. It wasn't like album of the year, but they weren't saying it was toilet. Their fan base just went absolutely rabid, and it was so disheartening to see. Some idiot called for the band to break up and tried to make a petition, which got, I think, like 5,000 signatures. That guy's a dick. They basically, Suicide Silence was just doing a cold stop on everything they did that was remotely nu metal. They don't play the songs from the self-titled live anymore already. Only came out, 3 years ago? Yeah, 3 years ago. There's only a little bit of the nu metal still on here, which I'll talk about a bit more in a sec. But it's just a dead stop. And it's such a shame, because you don't want bands just to be the same forever. You want them to experiment. This is why like Metallica get a lot of flack for how much they changed, but you think of all the different people that now listen to Metallica, but because of all the different experiments that they did. The reports are that before Mitch Lucker, who was the previous frontman, before he passed away, he was learning how to sing to include clean vocals in a Suicide Silence album. On Black Crown, they were already experimenting with a bit more nu metal and more groove metal kind of influences in there. Although the self-titled was an extreme version of what the reports were saying, and maybe they rushed too much too soon, it was still an experiment. It was still building on ideas that I've been talking about for years prior. And yeah, it's just such a shame that a very toxic side of the heavy metal community just said, no, we don't like this, go back to doing what you're doing. And they have. Suicide Silence are back being a deathcore band. Luckily for Suicide Silence, they are one of the best of that genre. They're probably one of the best deathcore bands that have been. Eddie Hamida on this sounds fucking great. His high screams are just fantastic. He just absolutely kills it on this album. The riffs, the scratches, the solos, the guitar work on this album is fucking brilliant. On the song The Scythe, it honestly sounds like someone owes drummer Alex Lopez money because he just goes fucking ham. It is everything, it's literally everything you want from a Suicide Silence album because their fan base has said, this is what we want, don't give us anything different. Feel Alive is a hella brutal song, lyrically. In words and in Eddie's execution, you've got like the chorus like, I need to kill to feel alive, and the way it is like proper Cookie Monster stuff, but it sounds so fucking brilliant because he can sing and I cannot. Disaster Valley is another great song. I mentioned earlier about there is some very minuscule crossover with like with the new metal from that they tried to do on the previous album. They're in songs like In Hiding and Skin Tight. Like I said, kind of has elements, but it's not enough to say like this is a new metal song or this is deathcore with new metal in it. It's just like pencil shavings sprinkled on top worth of influence. Don't know what that fucking means. This is a good album. This is Suicide Silence being Suicide Silence, and it just so happens that they are very, very good at being them. It's just a shame that by the looks of it, what they want to do, they cannot because their fan base and the wider heavy metal community has said, don't do that. I really hope they can find a happy medium. Like I said, the Black Crown had elements of new metal. Who knows what the album after that would have sounded like with Mitch, if he would have got clean vocals in, if they would have brought more new metal in. But I hope I feel like the next album, it will be a new metal deathcore, like meet between, or like hybrid, or something like that. Just so they can feel creatively satisfied and remember that this is their band, and also it keeps their really finicky fan base happy and content. That was Become the Hunter. Again, very, very exciting deathcore. It's very, very good. I don't think I've done it enough justice by just saying, why can't they go back to being new metal? Which is, they went new metal, everyone complained. Now I'm saying they've gone to deathcore again, and I'm fucking complaining. So Suicide Silence can't fucking win, but it's still a great album. Go listen to it. It's called Become the Hunter. It's the 6th album. And yeah, if you don't like it, don't be a fucking asshole. I really spiked on my audacity, so I'm sorry. Cool. We will move on then to Canada. Yay. I want to live in Canada. It looks like a lovely place to go. The band are called Lie, and their album is called You Want It Real. This is their 4th album. They are I think they've been they definitely have been labelled as a post-punk band. This is their follow-up to Hounds, which came out in 2018. I am not very familiar with the genre of post-punk, so you'll have to forgive any naivety that I may have, more so than usual, because I don't know a fucking thing. I feel like the genre is a lot broader than what I have previously given it credit for. Take that as you will. But yeah, just like a little caveat before going in, because I know nothing about post-punk. I can't really think of a post-punk album that I have consciously put on. I think the closest I can think of in the past fucking years is Oath, which again, they experiment way outside what I previously thought. And a band that my manager showed me, got a really long title, can't think what they're called. That helps. Anyway, on the actual album itself, You Want It Real. Musically, again, very good. Let's try again. Very garagey. Lots of like very scratchy guitars. So think Minutemen, Mets, Modest Mouse, other bands that begin with the letter M. It's very, very hard, fast-paced. So I think it's got a subtle hardcore punk influence in there as well. They give a lot of reverb on Ashley Luck's vocals, who is the lead singer of the band. And that like almost echo like hue that they put on her vocals just gives the album a lot more of a darker feel. And there are times when the album sort of like crosses into like more of a goth kind of punk sort of thing, or like a massive goth influence from how she executes. And like just on her own, if they took off all the effects on her vocals, just how she sings, where it is very much like a punk rock in your face sort of yell, it adds to that. What's the word? Aggression? That's not the right word. Confrontation, I think that's closer. As to the confrontation of the band's sound, where it just sounds like she's about ready to deck you one. And yeah, with the reverb, makes it a lot darker, makes it a lot heavier, and yeah, it's quite a... Because I had like a quick blast on what other post-punk was, it's quite like a mildly unique sound from how what they do to Ashley's vocals and what she herself does as a vocalist to make it a bit more them and a bit more identifying to them as a band. And with all the effects they put on Ashley and what they put on the guitars and bass, it kind of borders on noise sometimes. Not in a bad way. You'll have like also that reverb echo on guitars. So when you do, it's like, but then you've got like on Bugs, which is like this really frenetic, fast-paced song. Like you've got that with the reverb, so you've got like the echo of the previous note happening at the same time. So yeah, just sort of like sometimes it's fade into like a little bit of a noise sort of area, but not to the point where it's like difficult or you can consider this full-on noise rock. The lyrics on the album, so the band are known for being quite open in their opinions, and they're known to voice their opinions on things like anti-privilege. They're very pro-feminism, the anti-rape culture, which, as like a standby, that was really... I picked up that phrase in another review for this album. To me, it's so weird to see that. Like, you have to be anti-rape culture. It was fucking... Yeah. Who the fuck isn't? And that's probably me talking as like a very standard white boy, but it was just a weird thing to see written down. But anyway, back to music. They're known to talk about and to sing about those sort of subject matters. With this, they have said that they want to be, a little bit more open lyrically. They want to leave things up to the interpretation of the listener. And there are certain songs that definitely do that. You've got a song like... I'm doing a die again. Songs like Good Boy, which kind of feels a bit role reversal, in my opinion. It's where like you've got the... what? Is it the social problem? I'm not very good with like social political issues, I'm so sorry. But basically saying like girls need to smile more and girls need to act a certain way to like brighten up the room or that sort of thing. They need to hold up the emotions, I guess. It feels a bit more role reversal because you've got like telling the guy in the song to do this, good boy, telling him to do that, good boy. It's very... Yeah, I just feel like it's kind of like a role reversal. It's like, oh, look, you've made it. If you wear this I don't know, this outfit, boy, I'll be happy. You know, it's I thought it was a bit more of a role reversal. LSD, which is the final track on the album. Initially, I said, or I put that on my notes, it's about sticking with a troubled relationship or trying to work through issues in a relationship. Based on what I've read about Lie and other lyrics that they've written and other topics that they cover, I feel like writing about a troubled relationship or any kind of relationship is just a little bit beyond them. I feel like I could be completely wrong, and if they want to sing about fucking relationships, then fucking why not? But I feel like I'm not doing it enough justice to say, oh, they're just writing about boys or they're just writing about girls. I just think there's a lot more to it than that. But if it is sticking with that, like the difficulties of a troubled relationship, then it is another social point that does need talking about. And again, they are not averse to voicing their opinions, so who knows? The song Bugs, we talked about a minute ago, I've got no fucking idea. It sounds so fucking badass though, but you've got song, I think the lyrics go something on the lines of bugs crawling in my head, they're a cancer, can't get them out. Like, what the fuck is happening? This song is great, but I'm so scared at the same time. There are still a few songs which I think a little bit more on the nose, and they are very much more obvious about what they sing about. So you got the song You Got It, which to me screams, it's like the male versus female perspective on a rape. You've got Fantasy of Destructive Force. Fantasy of Destructive Force, the penultimate song, which I think deals in the world of abuse. Those sort of songs, reading the lyrics, they are a little bit more upfront with top of the matter. In my opinion, I might be getting them completely wrong again, but it's me. The overall scheme of things, if you compare it to, and I made a note of this, come on. If you compare it to just the track titles from the previous album, Hounds, you've got Better Sex, Country Boys, Birthday Party, Can't Get Enough, It's Really Nice, Weaponized. They are just the title tracks alone. It's kind of like the Chat sort of thing from earlier, where it's much very because of the song is literally there in the title track, in the track's title. There's no nuance. There's no like, I wonder what it means. There's no subtext. It's literally just it's there. It's right in front of you. So yeah, they are definitely in that regard keeping it a bit more open on this album, keeping things a bit more open for interpretation and open for discussion. Yeah, one song I really want to single out before I move on to the next album is a song, Drowning with Piss. It is track 6. It is a bit more melodic compared to the rest of the album, and it's closer to what I had in my head when I saw that they were labelled as a post-punk band. My fucking god, that song is good. The thing that gets me every single time is to the transition out of the chorus. So you've got oh fuck, I forgot her name. Ashley. It's the I'm high, I'm high, I'm high, I'm high. Ah shit! And as she says shit, it just goes into this like searing. Again, it's slowed down compared to the rest of the album, but it's not like ballad or doom or anything like that. It's a bit more like that gothy haze that I was speaking about earlier. And yeah, I just think that song is fucking good, man. It's fucking good. Keep punching the microphone to get the hair out of my face. This is going well. Yeah, if you like very musically, if you go for like if you like your punk rock to be a little bit different, a little bit more experimental, definitely give it a go. If you like, is it classed as socially minded? It's definitely not politically minded. Although no, it's not political. I think it's more, if you like your socially minded punk rock or your socially minded music. So the biggest example I've got in my head is Nervous. Although there is lots of bands that do it. There was one I reviewed recently that I can't remember who the was. Fuck. Why is my memory so fucking awful? Existence is suffering. But yeah, how Nervous are being quite upfront with their views about all things. If you like that sort of lyrical content, give Lie a go. It's Lie with an accent going that way, or I'm reverse that way. Basically, it's going southwest to northeast. That's the E1. Alternatively, as I found out, if you just put Lie Vancouver as one word into Instagram, Bandcamp, Twitter, that sort of thing, you find them pretty quick. So go for that instead. The band's called Lie. The album is called You Want It Real. It is the fourth album, and yeah, a little bit more different punk rock for y'all. And before we get on to the last album of the week, just gonna slide in the new release from Supruga, which those of you who have been around for a while might remember me talking about Supruga. They are a Russian black and hardcore band from a place called Samara. Their album, Chaos? Basically the Russian word for chaos. That came out last year. It was a top 10 album for me. Bit left of field considering everything else was quite like a known, not mainstream, but more known in the alternative world, I should say. Whereas I feel like Chaos was even more underground than what I usually like to find. And I still really, really like that album. The band found my reviews for them on YouTube and gave me lots of nice feedback, so they are pretty chill dudes. And they've come out with a new EP, which if you're not watching on YouTube, you won't see me doing the little bunny rabbit ears thing, but EP because... So the EP is called... Oh, fuck me, it's Russian. Nikto Nevi Bezopasnosti. I don't think I did too bad. It's English for... it's Russian for nobody is safe, so I'm going to try and just say that instead. Yeah, it's a second EP. It is a bit of a cheek calling it an EP because it's 3 songs long. It's 11 minutes long, but the first song hits me more like an intro track. It's like 2 minutes long? 2.5 minutes long. And I think the first minute and a half of it is it's like dark ambient music in the background with a woman talking in Russian. And then Ksenia Kundenko, who is the vocalist of the band, comes in with just this piercing shriek of, I don't know, horror, terror, fear, whatever. And then it slowly like descends into her sobbing, and then it cuts to the next song, which I believe is pronounced Yama, and it's the Russian word for pit. And so, yeah, it's a bit of cheek, say like 2 songs with an intro is a class as an EP. I feel like it's more of an extended single, but with this being my show, I want to include it because I fucking like Supruga. So yeah, first proper song on the album then, track 2, Yama, I think. Much more fast-paced than the other track. Way more in your face. It is more in line with what I think about whenever I think about Supruga. One thing I did notice though, so I should say, the standard sound for Supruga is very intense, blackened hardcore. It's very, very well produced actually, which I'll get into a little bit more in a bit, but exceedingly well produced considering they are from what I consider quite a musically quiet part of Russia. Having said that, the Russian extreme metal and blackened scene is fucking hot right now. I think Turner are about to come out with a new album. I remember listening to, I think they're called Eat the Dinosaurs. Cerna are fucking great. Yeah, Russia is becoming a really cool place to listen to music at the moment. So yeah, the general Supruga sound is very fast-paced, very well-produced, black and hardcore. Ksenia sounds fucking evil as sin. Dmitry Avagin's, Avagin. Yeah, I got the V and G wrong. Dmitry Avagin, sorry man. His guitar sound, which I'll get into a bit more in a bit sec, is just one of the best things I've ever heard. And it is just like blistering fast-paced throughout, and it's got some really nice riff work in there as well. Track 2 keeps in line with that Supruga sound. I feel like it experiments more with melody in this song, and there are lots of bands that describe it. The only one I could find that's like a named example was Svalbard from the UK. Obviously Svalbard, like a blackened crust-punk, post-metal sort of thing. One of the parts where they're like, obviously they go 90 to dozen quite speedy, like Supruga do. But every now and again, when they have like the melodic bits in the middle, it's not like the post-rock sheen where it just like it's one note played for ages. It is any other band, it would be considered like they're like double beat songs, like. But compared to the rest of like Supruga and the rest of Svalbard's back catalogue, that's the point where it's considered the slow part because the rest of it's so fast. The other example that just came to my head was the chorus to the title track of Eternal Forward Motion by Employed to Serve. where it is not slow, but it's also not their double quick fast pace. That's what I'm kind of trying to explain. Svalbard and this song do that a lot more, and I think it just adds to the breadth of their sound. In track 3, which is the title track, again, Nikto Nevi Bezopasnosti. That's the best I've done that, and I've been saying that a lot off microphone because I want to do it justice. I'm happy with that one. Someone might get in contact and say that's shit. Fuck you, I did really well. That song is a bit more groovy, a bit more sludgy. It opens, like the first minute or so is the Supruga hardcore, and then it slows down to a real, dirgy kind of. It's a sort of tempo where you've gone from like flinging your hair around and getting some serious limb action for the first song, and the first half of the third song. Very confused. And then when the slow part starts kicking in, he goes from all that to more of a headbang, and then you get your shoulder involved. You know when you get your shoulder involved, that's like a really filthy kind of dirge kind of song. And yeah, definitely does that. I'm intrigued to find out where they go with this, because the first album it's a lot of like the 3 to 4 minute hardcore sort of songs. They do experiment going more deeper, slower end of things, like on the title track of this EP. But the fact that both proper songs on here are 5 minutes. I think both 5 minutes. I think one goes to 6 minutes. Oh no, so they're 5 and 4 minutes. The 4 minute one is probably more in line time wise, but stylistically I think it's a bit more different. And then Yama is the 5 minute one. That's quite the breadth of song. So I'm wondering if the next album, instead of having like short, crunchy hardcore, they go for like the big, more fewer song but more expansive kind of thing, like how Svalbard did in the latest album. So I'm intrigued. I have no personal connection to anyone in the band, so I have no idea if an album's going to come out this year. My money would be on early next year, but that's literally just a time and date I pulled out my ass. It was finally on this EP, of all things, a 3-song EP, 2.5-song EP, where I finally figured out what it is that keeps drawing me back to Supruga. And it is Dimitri's guitar tone. It is the most metallic, industrial thing I can think of. And I'm not saying they're going to be the next Code Orange, because it's not that kind of industrial. It's literally the tone of his guitar. It just sounds like two bits of heavy sheet metal just twatting each other. The sound I describe to people about Supruga is like this melting pot of Behemoth, Watain, Year of the Knife, Ministry, Rammstein. Very intense guitar stuff that just goes frighteningly powerful. Yeah, I really like Supruga. I hope they get a bit more exposure in mainland Europe and US and UK. It's just everywhere in general, I guess. But yeah, I think they are a very, very good band. Love to know what they have coming next. And as a sample, as a starting point, I guess you couldn't go wrong. There's a lot of what they've already done combined with some new ideas in this EP. It just depends how well acquainted you are with blackened hardcore or how much you want to get into it. Fuck it, why not? What? Give us a go, and if you like this, go for the album. I'd still recommend the album over this, purely because there's just more there. There's just more content to take in and find and like properly get to grips with the band sound. But yeah, it is called, one more time, Nikto Nevi Bezopasnosti. Just type in Supruga. It's going to be so much easier unless you have a Cyrillic keyboard. There's a second EP-ish. And yeah, Russian blackened hardcore. Russia is coming up with the goods for blackened music at the moment. So yeah, I wonder why. I wonder what could cause them to be so aggressive all the time. We are going to move on to the main event of the week. It is the self-titled album, the second album from Milk Teeth, Strude's greatest child, whatever. Unfamiliar with Milk Teeth, they are a grungy punk kind of sound. Their first album, Vile Child, got a lot of comparisons to the likes of Nirvana and like In Utero sort of thing, and that 90s Seattle sound with like a modern punk twist. Since that album's come out, they have had just the most unluckiest run. They had a lot of critical backing on their debut album, Vile Child, and they accrued a very dedicated fan base along the way. Like I found out about them through Stephen Hill, journalist and podcast host. I don't know him personally, obviously, but he basically said that Vile Child was the best modern debut of this generation, and on his podcast basically said just go out and buy it, don't stream it, don't spoil it for yourself, just go out and buy it. And it's the first album I ever bought based on that recommendation. It's the first album I ever bought without ever listening to a single song from the album, and it was a fucking great album. Vile Child is a brilliant album. The fan backing for the band, like I said, is insane. I remember seeing them, fucking hell, it must be about 2 years ago now. They supported Shikari, and we were stood behind two girls. I hadn't seen them for there was an opener before Milk Tea, but I don't think I went to watch them. Might have been Borders actually. So they had the two girls in front of us, and they were really, really excited about the band. During this show, during this tour, they were doing self-help pop-up stores in and around the venue they were playing. So when they got to Lincoln, they didn't have one in Lincoln, they had one in Nottingham, because I think they played there like a night or two before. And with that, they had like a one-off charity t-shirt, and I cannot for the life of me remember if it was for an abuse charity or a mental health charity. What can I think of that fucking word? Either way, they had like a limited run charity t-shirt to go along with those self-help shows or get-togethers. Literally just got together in a room and talked about feelings or fucking sports and coloured in and hung out and drank coffee. If that sounded fucking wicked. And these two girls stood in front of me, were going absolutely mad. They kept getting waves off Ollie and Becky. Ollie at one point went further to the stage and said hello to them. They were in the shirt. And I didn't see them for the rest of the show, even though Shikari was playing. So there's a good chance they might have just been there for Milk Teeth. They just got like a really insane fan base. I know I've got as many people as I can to listen to Milk Teeth. And I know a few people who actually really like them now. So I'm both part of the problem and part of the good. What's the opposite of a problem? Not solution though. Whatever it is. So yeah, really good backing, and they followed up their debut album with Be Nice and Go Away, 2 EPs in 2017. 2 fucking brilliant EPs. If they were together as one album, can definitely contender for album of the year that year. They were so fucking good. And then, but just before that, just before they released the debut album, around the release of the 2 EPs, and ever since then, it's just been a whirlwind for the band. I won't go into it too much, because if they ever listen to this, I don't think they want reminding, but basically, the only person left from the first album, I think the only person left from the 2 EPs, in fact, which came out 3 years ago, is Becky Blomfield. Just trying to think now, is that her name? It's Becky. Bassist and lead vocalist. She's the only one that remains. But now they have M. Foster from Nervous, among many, many other things, and Jack Kenny, also from Nervous, and Gold Key again, as well as many, many things. So, yeah, although they've lost a bit of like critical or critic push, and like the momentum was lost a bit from that debut album, the fan backing's still there, and I feel like it's carried them a lot over the past few years, to the point where we now have this new album. In terms of musical evolution, the debut album was very, very dirgy kind of grunge stuff. Like I said, a lot of comparisons to the likes of Nirvana and the Seattle sound of the time. Much more punk side of things. So that's what I was saying, like more Nirvana as opposed to Alice in Chains, who are a bit more doomier, more heavy metal. The 2 EPs, Be Nice and Go Away, they were a lot of comparisons I saw to Green Day, and I'll completely back that. It was a lot more of like a shimmery sort of pop punk over the top of it all. Some of the songs on there, like I Stabbed You First, Lillian, Owning Your Arcanus, fucking Song of the Summer. Oh my god, that song fucking rips. Just more super catchy, super fun, light-hearted pop punk over the top of their grunge sort of sound. With the self-titled, in fact no, they had a song in between. So after, when they went down to an initial 3-piece where it was Ollie, and Becky, they released the song Stain, which I still think is a fucking brilliant song, probably one of the better multi songs out there. And I remember reading or hearing a interview with the band that said they want to go more back to their more grungy stuff. They weren't really a fan of this like more pop punkier sort of thing they were going with. Stain was a very clear response to that. It was a lot more grungy, a lot more heavy, way more heavy in fact. It's a fucking great song. Really, really good song, that one. And yeah, with the debut, with the sophomore album, the grunge is back. It is more in line with Stain or with Vile Child as opposed to the 2 EPs. The production on this is just worlds better. I can't put a finger what it is, but I know I fucking can't I? The first album, it felt very low production to like sort of intensify like grunge influence, and to give it that like really hazy 90s everything's bleak and shit kind of vibe, whereas this is very much the production's cleaned up, but they're still quite intense, they're still very heavy. They still got the element of everything is still shit, but they're creating that mood instead of having production do it for them. I don't know if that's just because they didn't have enough money for that debut album, but it was on Hopeless, so I feel like Hopeless would have enough money for it. But yeah, production's cleaned up a lot. Yeah, production's cleaned up a lot on this album. Everyone sounds so much better. The guitar work is a lot better. M as a guitarist just does so much more, and that's not a slate on the previous guitarists. I remember one, Chris and Billy. I feel like quickly listening back to their albums a minute ago, or the albums with them on a minute ago, they dealt more with again power chord progressions as opposed to riffs. M has a lot more riffs in there. It complements Becky's voice and Becky's execution a lot better. It carries the songs as well. It really keeps the flow of the songs going really, really well. Yeah, I just thought the guitar work was a lot better on this. There's going to be a lot of wanky things I'm going to say, but this is probably the wankiest. And I hate it when reviews say this, but Becky sounds so much more confident. And I hate saying that. Not because Becky doesn't, but purely because it's just it's a silly thing to say. But how she hits notes and how she sings, it feels like she's very much. I quickly look back on like the back catalogue. Vile Child, it sort of sounds like she's still quite down below the mic and just getting her bits out when she needed to. Whereas this, I feel like she's properly sat into that front woman role. In better, the like high notes and like that bite in the chorus, she absolutely fucking nails. She's got such power in songs like Transparent, Given Up, and Dilute. She's just got such an improvement as a vocalist on the album, and I think she sounds fucking fantastic. Again, some of the notes she'll hit, and some some of the sections of songs or sections of music that she'll hit sounds great. Her bass playing carries songs just as well as M does as well. I feel like M has really contributed to overall songwriting of the band, you listen to a lot of what Nervous do, and you listen to this, you definitely see there's like a stylistic influence on the band's sound. And when I was going through the album, just to like pick out the songs I want to save in like playlists or whatever, and like liking the ones that I liked, having it on the background or just listen to it as an album, like, man, yeah, this is really, really great. Going through song by song, I was like, man, Given Up is such a belter. Like, but it can't beat Dilute though. Dilute is the best song on the album. Now, Better is a song. I can go all the way down until you get to Circles and like, please don't let me any more like better songs because I'm running out. Thankfully, like in the nicest way, I didn't realise there were so many fucking belters on this album. And it's just, song to song to song, there's just something so catchy and so endearing about pretty much every song. A good solid 90% of the albums have been liked on Spotify now individually. I think Destroyer adds, like M Screams on Destroyer just adds that extra bit of heaviness that really gives a song a bit more power behind and a bit more gravitas, similar to songs like Stain and Fight Skirt. Medicine is the best slow ballady sort of song that Milk have done since Swear Jar. Better and Circles both have a claim to be Song of the Year. Circles is just, I listened to Circles and immediately thought, I don't know where Strode is, but it must be West Country, and I think parts of Gloucestershire where Strode is classed as West Country, and it's doing the West Country proud. It's fucking West Country massive up in here, because it's the on Circles. I have the piss taken out of me all the time for it. Anything like twirl, squirrel, burger. I sound like a fucking cartoon character, so to hear it on a song like Circles, and for a song for it to sound so, it's fucking slays so hard. Doing West Country proud on that song, methinks. Lyrically, very empowering as well. The band have always known to be quite outspoken about feminism, equal rights, patriarchy, abuse, that sort of thing. Becky in particular, very impassioned. Like, she shares stories for us from her point of view and stories she's heard of other people, just making sure that people have got a voice. Again, another very socially minded, socially adept kind of band. But I feel like on this album, whereas before they were telling stories from like a first person point of view and like in the darker parts of all these instances, like you are the one that's being abused, you are the one that's being belittled, and you are the one that's like under the thumb and that sort of thing. I feel like the lyrics on this talk about being on the other side of it. So you've got like war cry of I deserve better on Better. You've got Given Up on like, sorry, you've got the song Given Up, which is all about obviously just being bored of being not the punching bag, 'cause I think that's a bit too literal, but having to deal with an asshole saying like, no, I'm just gonna fuck off. Transparent, I feel like Transparent has a lot of M in it. The lyrics are, I won't be your silly little girl, cut your claws, I won't feed your power thirst. Later on you've got, I won't be your silly little girl, do you really think that you're my world? Oh no, your eyes stop seeing. I think that kind of like cynicism, that sort of like attitude is very M. And yeah, a lot of the songs on this album are just very much a case of, as opposed to being like the victim of any particular circumstance, you're now the victim that's finally said, I just fuck off, no more. And it's like, yeah, I feel like it's a lot more empowering this time, because they are still covering those social points and those very, very troubling subject matters. But this time they are saying like it doesn't have to be like this. There are ways out. You can overpower it and you can come out on top. And I think that's really important, because there are a lot of bands who are talking about how shit things are. But it's also very important to know that as shit things get, there is still something on the other side. So I think this album's fucking great. I did not realise how much how good it was going to be. And even through listening to it, I was like, man, it's just a really, really good song. It's just a really, really good song. And then putting it all together, I was like, fuck me, there's loads of good songs on here. Compared to that back catalogue, I much prefer it to Child, purely because I love the production on this much more than I do on Child. Compared to the 2 EPs, I'd probably have to sit with it a little bit longer. I really, really like those 2 EPs. That was a big mark for Green Day, so having a Green Day influence on grunge is always going to win me over, but we'll see what happens as the year carries on. It is the self-titled second album from Milk Teeth. I like it so much, and I just punch my microphone right in its fucking face. And yeah, give it a go. I hope my reviews from today have inspired you to seek out new music. You've listened, I keep saying I'm so sorry. Listen to album reviews today for Milk Teeth, Supruga, Lie, Suicide Silence, The Chat, and Ihsahn. Overall, I think quite a positive week. Isn't that lovely? If you have any complaints, compliments, comments of any kind regarding what I've said today or what I say ever, what I do, or just in general, it's lockdown, we're all very alone. Come and find me on social medias, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, at Desolation Pod. I have a YouTube channel as well, which if you can see my face, you already know that. But I haven't got like an official URL yet, so just click my link tree or click somewhere nearby. There's going to be a link for it somewhere. I feel like I'm on top of this quite well. And yeah, until next time, which we will hopefully have reviews for 4 Years Strong, Iris, and Vasa, among other things. Have yourselves a jolly good time. Hopefully the lockdown isn't getting to y'all that much, and you can do stuff and think. Just remember, don't go outside unless you really have to. Think of the NHS. Wash your damn hands. And don't clap for Boris Johnson.